Welcome. I am live here with Nik Chung.
Hello.
Relay, and welcome back to Conversations with. I don't know, I'm debating whether to say the ... Conversation with ... And I'm so excited because Nicola and I have kind of met cross paths a few years back, and it's just nice to see and we check in with each other every so often to see how we're doing and how we're blossoming. And my goodness, she's been a real inspiration for me, and so I'm really excited to actually be able to interview her and allow her to kind of share her path, what she's been up to with you guys. And just a kind of reminder again, like the previous interview we had, is like there's ups and downs. It's not always plain sailing, but we do have the tools, and I think that's the key thing, that we have come across tools, which is why we share what we share. And so I'm just going to read the bio she sent me. Nik Chung is a multi-passionate entrepreneur with a big dream to bring the tools of consciousness to the mainstream. She is a women's entrepreneur life coach, Nia teacher, creator of the conscious movement journey, Dissolve Dance, and a holistic body worker for her business in Aroha Bodywork. And she's originally from Wellington, is that right?
Yes.
But you're now in Australia.
Yeah. So I just made the leap over to Melbourne, which has had, we discussed previously just off camera, that it's had its lovely ups and downs, which I'd love to share with you, because as Yulei said, that we're all on this path to improve ourselves and do whatever it is that we do in the world to make it a better, more awesome, kick-ass place. But don't get confused with your gurus or the people that you follow having their life sorted and everything's bloody perfect, because it's not. So we'll probably dive deeper into that. But yes, I've moved over to Melbourne, and it was a calling that it's time to really follow my passion and my dreams, and to see how many more people that I can positively affect in the world. And it seemed like my time was a little bit up in New Zealand. I don't know why. I'm sure I'll be back there soon. But yeah, so here I am overseas.
Well, just to give the viewers a little bit of a highlight of, I guess, your journey, are you able to give us just a very overarching, where have you started from, and maybe the middle bit, and now where you are now, just to give people an idea of, like, okay, what was part of your journey?
Sure. So I think it started really, I've always been very interested in the esoteric, or the I grew up religious. I grew up in a Catholic family. However, my mother was Catholic and my father wasn't. And so I had these two views of spirituality. One was very kind of organic, and my dad, he read a lot about Buddhism and different pathways, and my mum had grown up in the church, but she also was an islander who had this connection with the sea. And so I had all these really sprinklings of things when I was a kid, and I didn't, obviously, as children, we don't categorize things, we just take them in. But I remember sitting up, I was a really bit of a strange teenager. I didn't really enjoy going out. I had to have friends who pulled me out. But if I had a time when I didn't go out, I'd sit there on my bed with my dad. I was 16, and Friday, Saturday nights, and we'd debate about spirituality, or he would bring in a concept that I had, it blew my mind. And we'd talk about these concepts, and I'd just be curious and just be diving in. And then I guess the time for me when it changed and I became really I am going on this path and I know what it's named of now was probably about 6 years ago now. It's a little bit blurry. It was about 6 years ago. And I had been I'm in the wellness industry now, but in a different arena. But I previously went to school and did physical education and psychology, and I was really interested in the health of people. But my framework was all very westernized. And so it was really on a physical level that I was looking at it. And I started working in the industry in New Zealand and realizing, I was like, there's got to be more to health than this, because it's not just about the body. And I also personally knew that the more I used my body and made it healthy, it actually seemed like a form of punishment to me. I was actually pushing it way beyond. Exactly. And so I was like, well, I'm not healthy. This isn't healthy. I'm not happy. There's something else to this. And that really kicked it off. I was kind of like, I am not satisfied with this model of thinking and being.
Because what you're already to, as the wave behind you alludes to, the surfer, you're kind of quite active in terms of the physicality.
Definitely.
And surfing, and was it massage you were doing, or you say you're working with the physical body?
Yeah, well, actually, even before that, I was working with obese children and their families, and teaching them how to get into exercise and enjoy exercise and all sorts of stuff. But I also realized that working with them, they actually had the host of other problems, and a lot of it was mental well-being, but also a lack of connection with themselves and with everyone else. And that's what actually led to them being the way that they were. It had nothing to do with the fact, well, I mean, it had to do with the fact that they didn't exercise and move, but that had come down to a deep, I can see it now, it came down to a deep set of belief that they weren't worth it, and that they just couldn't connect with the highest part of themselves that told them that they were special and beautiful and wonderful beings that deserved to be taken care of. And so that really was like, it really turned my world upside down, because that was my dream job. So I'd done all the study, and I was like, I'm going to help all these thousands of people, and I'm going to, make a real big positive impact in their lives. And then I got to the job, and I was like, holy fuck, it's not what this is not what I had signed up for. And actually, I am missing a major part of health here. I don't know what it is. And that was really what it was. I was like, I have no idea what this is. And then a bunch of other stuff happened. I broke up with the guy I was with for a long time, and that kind of turned everything upside down. I actually went on a surfing trip for a year to escape. It was meant to find myself, but I just was total escapism. Went traveling for a year, did the whole thing. I was like, oh, I found myself. I'm so connected now. I know, I'm satisfied with my life and everything's beautiful. Came back to New Zealand a year later, and I was like, I'm actually still in the same place I was before.
Interesting.
And yeah, and that was what prompted me to go, I need to fix something. There is something else that I am missing here. And I used to always look at these people. I have a very big influence of Christian friends in my life. That's just from how I've grown up. And I used to look at them and just think, it's all really fake, how can they be so happy and satisfied with life? It's all bullshit. And I had got really turned against the church. Now my view of spirituality, religion in general, has really broadened to accept everything that is. I think the universal laws are the same, and there are different pathways to go through it. But to cut a long story short, I basically went on that journey. I ended up reading heaps of books, taking loads of courses. And where I am now is that I now teach from a body perspective, because I know that I'm a physical person. I still am a physical person. But it's about, how do I tap into the wisdom of my body that actually has all of the universal knowledge that we need and require to live the most beautiful, profound, passionate, and purposeful life? How do I use my body to actually tap into that and make my life amazing? So that's kind of what I do in a nutshell.
Very nice. And it is that I'm still learning about, I guess, having dialogue with my body is what you're alluding to. It's like how many of us are kind of not really including our bodies into the equation of our choices and decisions, and always lugging it around or dragging it to work in a place where we're not actually, and your body's going, come on, there's something else, and listening to the whispers of that. So what were the, I guess, inspired steps you took to get you where you are now? I mean, there's a lot of, I guess, searching, all the asking of questions, it sounds like. But was there something, that really kind of helped you move from that physical to that holistic view of the world?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think there was a definite turning point, and that turning point was I had actually been on a surf holiday in Bali, and I was just about to make a move to Raglan in New Zealand. If anyone knows of that place, it's this beautiful seaside town in New Zealand, and quite a conscious community there. And on my last day of my trip, I twisted my knee, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to the surfing capital of New Zealand. I'm not going to be able to surf anymore. I know that my mental health goes, I go crazy in my head if I can't move my body. And I made a vow to myself on the plane when I was in pain, and I was on this 15-hour flight back home to New Zealand, and thinking, I'm moving to this place. I know no one. I can't do what I love. I made a conscious decision. I said, I need to sort whatever out is in here and what is in here that is not making me happy with my life if I can't move. I said, I shouldn't be unhappy if I can't move my body. Like, that's a really crazy equation. And I think a lot of people have that in different ways. You know, I won't be happy unless I have that, or I can't be happy unless I have this. And mine was, I can't be happy unless I can move my body. And I was like, that's weird. It just popped into me. I was like, that's strange. And I was like, right, what I'm going to do is, I know I've got at least 6 months off where I won't be able to do anything. So I'm going to figure this out, and I'm going to figure this out and see what happens. And then, of course, when you put that intention out into the universe, shit comes. It's just like, boom, boom, boom. It's like, like, where do I go?
Be careful what you ask for, as they say.
Be careful. But
I guess fundamentally you are asking for a change, and a lot of us, I know people watching this will be thinking, well, you know, it's never how it shows up, and you know, you've asked for the change, and it's like, be ready to receive what that is. And sometimes it's quite uncomfortable, and sometimes it's quite, oh yeah, that's what I ordered, and you know, shades of that in between. Do you have certain tools that, you know, that help you, I guess, listen to those inner knowings, if you like, and
like inner knowings of
I guess, what's your path? Like, you kind of knew, like, okay, you said you took time out 6 months to sort your head and heart out. What, you know, was that an aha moment, or was it kind of took you quite a while to go, okay, I get it, I've got it?
Yeah, I think I actually went on a course. So I went on the Avatar course, and some of you have probably heard about that. And that really flipped things around. It totally turned me inside out. And it made me expand my thinking, because I hadn't actually realized that the way that I was living my life and the way that I was using my mind was actually in a very narrow path and a very narrow box. And I had blinkers on about how things worked in the world. And what it did was, it basically was like, well, what you believe creates. And I was like, what? And it was total 100% personal responsibility. And that really, it was freaking hard, like, to actually own. Everyone wants to own all the positive stuff that you manifest in your life. You're like, oh yeah, I made that happen. Oh yeah, I made that happen. But what about the stuff which is not so yummy? You also have to own that, because that is what 100% personal responsibility is. If we believe we're creators of our whole life, then we really are creators of our whole entire life. So I've forgotten the question that you asked, but basically that really, basically that really helped me, like, open up my view of the world. And it actually opened up, as I said, I previously alluded to that, after my experience with the church and Catholicism and stuff, I had really negative views of what it was. But once I'd taken that course, it actually opened up my heart to different points of view. And when we do that, when we expand ourselves to actually take that in, and when we notice our judgments, we let ourselves step into our potential, because we now have choices as to how we can live our lives. I think if I hadn't learned that, I'd still be in the same place where I'd be struggling, and I'd be finding things hard, because I've only got, when you don't have choices, you've only got sort of 1 or 2 ways to go. As soon as you expand your point of view, suddenly so many choices come to you, and there's so many ways that you can go in your direction. And that, for me, is really freeing.
Yeah, and empowering. And like you said, there is that kind of, and I remember that moment of that, swallowing that bitter pill of, you are the creator of your reality. And we decide to hear that on some level, like you said, oh, you mean the nice things? Like, oh, well, I made that happen. And it's like, you also made everything else happen too. And it's like, what? No, me? Surely not. And then, yeah, you're quite right. And then but there's once you, I guess, get over yourself or realize this, then it puts you back in the driver's seat. And and I guess that's why you move doing what you're doing, because you're empowering people to actually become leading their life. And like you said, have that different perspective of different tools.
Exactly. Yeah, totally. Yeah. And I think that's exactly what people are craving. They don't know that that's what they're craving. They're craving freedom, but they don't actually understand what that means or what that entails. And when you put something like personal responsibility, everyone goes, woo. They're like, no, I don't really want that, unless it's all the nice, yummy stuff. But the way that I teach it, I guess, is in a really fun, organic way. And I teach it in 3 different modalities. So I do body work, I do dance, and I also do life coaching. But all of them are about how can we make this more playful and fun like we would as we were kids. And that takes away the heat and the, the bitterness of the pill, as you just said, about taking responsibility. It's like, okay, well, we can actually just play with this. And the more that we're light about this, then the easier it's going to be to flow into our next stage of life.
Absolutely. Yeah. I guess we've made, certain decisions or choices, we want to hide those. And I guess the way you do it, by inviting people through the dance and through the coaching and all those different other tools, it just feels much more freeing. So what about yourself? Like, is there a tool or one piece of advice that you took on board that you applied and that was like, wow, your magic bullet, if you like, but for the time? I mean, there's so many tools, but was there one particular one that you remember going, oh, that really helped me?
Yes, definitely. It came up actually during my Avatar course, and it came up also in my dance training in different ways, same message. But it was about how my default with life was being serious. So anytime there was any stress, it was, I'm serious. And as soon as we're serious, everything narrows down. And it's like, you can imagine your focus becomes this laser, and it's like, and so you can see, and I teach from a body level. So on a body level, everything goes, and so your heart's like, and you're trying to breathe, and it's like, oh, I can't move.
Sort this stuff out.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so serious. Like, oh yeah, I'm going to get a lot done when I'm like this. And so I had that realization when I was on course, and also I had it when I was dancing. That I actually took the dance I teach is Nia, and dissolve dance is also about that, the dance which I created. But it was a lot about having it perfect. And so I guess the one tool which I really took from both those things is how to be childlike with everything. Everything's a game, really. I mean, we don't really know what this life's for, so we may as well make it a game. We may as well make it fun.
Absolutely, I agree with that.
And just everything, if you bring on a childlike perspective, so I'm not being like childish, you're not throwing tantrums, and I mean that happens too. I'll admit it. I throw tantrums still. I still throw tantrums, but it's not about being childish. It's about taking all of the wisdom that you know, but having a real childlike perspective, and that means you're explorative. You're really curious about things. So curiosity takes away the judgment. You're no longer just like categorizing someone like, oh, they must think like this. It's like, oh no, I really want to know more about what you do, or who you are, or what you follow, or what you're interested in. And that's what a kid does. When they don't know anything, they have no preconceptions as to what it is, and they just ask more questions, and they're really wide-eyed and fascinated and in love with life. Like everything that comes to them, they're like, wow. And taking that essence for me, like, it's a constant daily thing. This is the one tool which I really use. It's like, I can notice myself when I get into the headspace of serious. I'm like, Nik, be childlike. Whew, what would a kid do in this situation?
Nice.
And it just frees me up instantly. And it's like, it's also the tool for creativity. If you're a creative out there, I believe that that's the only way. You have to just be a kid. You have to explore. You have to be willing to get it wrong. You have to be willing to fall over and then get back up and laugh, and then fall over again and get back up and laugh, and then eventually you'll get it. It's like, it's just such a more freeing way to it.
How many children do we know that they just, if they fall over, but they don't make it significant. They go, oh, I really hurt my knee yesterday or last week, and they hold on to that. They just go, what? And move on.
Yeah, totally. And it's like a thing with adults. I mean, I see it a lot in dance. And that's what I love about dancing as well. It's quite confrontational, we get taught that we can't dance or whatever it is, and people decide that they can't do something. And I'm like, when as a kid did you decide that you couldn't do anything? When you were a kid, limitless. You'll ask someone, oh, do you want to be a singer? They're like, yep, I'm going to be the best amazing singer in the whole wide world. It's like, it's just so like expansive. Their way of thinking is so expansive. And as you said, they recover from setbacks so much quicker. They just bounce back. They just go, oh, well, I tried. It was so great that I gave it a try, and I really want to do it again. And for some reason, it's like we take on this idea as adults that if we don't have it together now, we're never going to get it, or it's embarrassing to fail, or whatever the story is about it. And so we stop trying new things. And when we stop doing that, we just become narrower. We don't keep expanding out and growing, you know?
So is that, like you said, is that realization? So did you have that as a child when you were growing up and as a young adult, or more so with the tools and the awareness of the avatar in your dancing, that they were kind of showing?
Yeah, no, it really got highlighted in one of my courses in the dancing, that my default was serious. And I actually saw that pattern in my childhood too. When I look back at how I was as a kid, and I don't know when I picked this up, but I remember adults saying to me, "Oh, you seem wiser beyond your years, and you're a very serious child." And at the time, I took that as a compliment, because I was like, "Oh, I must be like older and mature," you know, thinking that seriousness is really great. Interesting. But yeah, when I was highlighted in my adult life and I realized how much it was actually blocking me from becoming the person that I wanted to be, or living this really beautiful life that is full of joy, I was like, I need to get rid of that. Like, I need to accept it, embrace it, but I need to just let it not be the major factor or the director of my life. I don't want it to be.
Interesting. So I'm just hearing all the different parents and children where they've gone, oh, they're really good at this particular thing, and it's almost stuck that they're typecast into this role, and then I guess when you grow up, you don't question that, because I've always won, or I've always been the best, or I've whatever it may be. It could be a range of things that we've then not questioned to go, well, what else can I be? What else can I do? I am the bossy one, or I am this, or I am that. It's kind of how many of us are walking around with these typecasts?
Totally. And you see it all the time. People decide that they are a type of person. I mean, you can sit there and you can do, this might be a great exercise for you to do at home if anyone wants to do it, is just sit back in your thoughts and tell yourself your story about yourself and see what comes up. What are the ideas that you have about yourself? You know, do you think you're fat? Do you think you're skinny? Do you think you're fit? Do you think you're unfit? Do you think you're a happy person? Do you think you're a shitty person? Do you think, like, what is the story that you decide for yourself? Because all of that is changeable. You don't actually have to be that person who you've created. You can actually step into the next second or the next moment being someone completely different.
Yeah. So, wow. How empowering is that? So what tools do you use today then? Are they any different over time that help you bring, I guess, lightness to your path and choosing? Because one, being the childlike, it sounds like a really good winner. The way to.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's a big one. That's a constant. Like, to tell the truth, I am a constant explorer, and I know this. And I used to actually judge myself a lot about this. Was that I chop and change a lot, and I'm like always like, oh, the next thing. And I always thought, oh, maybe I go after the next big shiny thing. But I actually have realized that I love learning, and that's what makes me go for all these different things and learn and learn and learn. And so I'm constantly taking on new tools and trying them out and seeing if they become something I'd like to keep going with. At the moment, the childlike one is always going to be there. I know that's a constant. At the moment, I'm really enjoying journaling. And I think it's because it helps me put my mental into a physical realm, and also like really into a physical realm with the writing. And I'm enjoying that journey, but I do see some limits on it sometimes, is that we can make it a head game rather than real exploration. So yeah, I'm playing with that at the moment. And dance as well is the one big tool that I love to free myself. It teaches me a lot about myself in the moment. So especially when I'm feeling anxious, or I'm feeling frustrated, or feeling any of those emotions that I feel are not useful for me, then I go and dance and I shake it out, and I just let myself go a bit wild, or bring out that little wild woman in me.
Nice.
And then after that, it's like, oh, now we're ready to create whatever it is that I want to create. You know, now I'm standing in my power and I'm authentically, totally me. Let's go for it.
I think that's really important what you said about being the explorer and acknowledging that you're okay with that. That's who you are and what you love doing. And I think there's a lot of people out there, they may beat themselves up as well about, oh, I need to just focus on one thing. I'm not very good at concentrating. Oh, there I go. I'm not grounded, or whatever dialogue is going on. And I mean, I'm like you, it's like exploring different tools, and that's fun for me, and that's expansive. And I guess those that feel like they want to hook into one thing, perhaps it's not one thing, perhaps it's many different things. And out of that, comes that creative inspiration. A bit of this and a bit of that. It's like kind of on the fly cooking, where you're not sticking to a particular recipe, but you create something new that works for you. So do you have any kind of like advice for explorers out there that can help them to achieve their greatness?
Yeah, I think the big one for me is trust yourself. There was a lot of times, especially when I was first exploring everything, that I felt so like a novice that I didn't trust my own intuition. And I just followed along like on one path where I followed the advice of this person, or I thought that person was an authority. And so I've got to follow them and their ideas, and their ideas must be right. And as I've been going along, I've been realizing actually we have all the answers within ourselves. We actually are our own gurus. And we just need to learn how to really tap in and understand what's right for us. And as I said, there's so many pathways, and different pathways will resonate with you and different pathways won't. And that's okay. But to really trust yourself with what you do, or what you want to do. And then with that as well is to take action to challenge yourself. Because there's trusting yourself, and then there's also like believing that you already know everything, right? So sometimes I see those lines blurred, and I see that in me. Like I'm like, oh, I trust myself. Like that's not for me because I know myself so well. And then I go, hang on a moment. I'm not challenging myself. I'm actually doing this behind the facade of trusting myself and knowing myself best. But it's not real. It's because I'm scared of being challenged. So it's like, we still want to expand. So although we're checking in with ourselves, we also need to truthfully check in with ourselves and go, am I making this decision to do this or not to do this because I'm trusting myself on my path, or is it because I'm fearful of something? And that's what I mean by continually challenging yourself. So listen in and then challenge yourself. Like just go, hey, Nick, really, what is this about? If it comes back to, hey, cool, that's not what you'll think, beautiful. If it comes back to, oh, I'm a little bit scared, you need to explore a little bit more. And that just helps you.
I'm hearing I can feel out there, people go, so how do I trust myself? How do I know if it's my choice? How? There's this whole, how do I know which one's right?
Yeah, totally. I completely.
Yeah,
sure. So the first thing, I mean, I work on a body level. I think that's one of the easiest ways to access our true self. Our mind can go absolutely mental. And this is the voices which you hear, which goes, oh, but they said this and they said this, and I don't know which one's my voice, and blah, 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 blah. The first thing is to breathe, take a big, deep breath. And for me, connecting in with the center of the earth feels really grounding to me. And I bring that center of the earth energy back into my belly, into my Dantian power center, and up into my heart. And I sit there for moments, and it used to take a long time. So don't get frustrated with yourself. It's practice, right? But it used to take up to an hour to get a clear answer for me. Like I used to have to sit there in this feeling of Mother Earth energy coming up through me and the center and space. And I'd just keep asking the question, and I'd leave it open. No preconceptions. I'd know when the voice came in and go, oh, but what about that? I'd be like, that's not really my voice. That's not my higher self speaking. And you just sit with it. And an answer will come. And this is part of the practice, is that you just have to sit and be prepared for any answer that arrives, because sometimes it's an answer that you don't wish to hear.
Interesting.
So you just have to sit with it. I know, because you're like, I know what I want to do.
I know what I want to hear. Yeah.
That's what I want to hear. And so you can convince yourself, which is your mind convincing yourself to do something. But if you were to listen to your inner self, which is the part which you want to trust, you have to open up that space for any answer to arrive to you. And as I said, it's practice. So now I can sort of check in, and it may be on a good day, it'll be 5 minutes, and maybe a minute. maybe 30 minutes. But when you're first starting, it might be up to an hour with a question, or it could be longer. But the more that you do that, the more that you check into the spaciousness that is you, the lightness that is you, you're going to get an answer that is from your higher self, which is the part which you should be listening to, because it really does know. It knows everything that you need to know.
So you're saying the body, it's almost like for some people, will it be like a really obvious sensation in their body that they can sense?
Yeah, I think it changes for different people, but the main idea that I get from the collective is space, a feeling of space and light and warmth is some of it too. So some people actually see visually, they'll see like a golden orb or a light of some sort, and it pulsates a bit. I personally, I get that very occasionally, and I don't like, it's really occasionally that I don't really resonate with it. But for me, it feels like everything is so supported by the ground. So it's a sensation of being supported. It's a sensation of spaciousness and lightness in the body. So if there's any density, you know that you're not quite there. If there's anything that feels a bit like, ugh, you're not quite there, just keep breathing in until you can find spaciousness. And I use this like in a little meditation, and it's really easy. You can replicate this at home. Is just when you're sitting with your breath, notice the spaces in your body. So notice the spaces in your lungs, notice the space in your heart, notice the spaces in your belly, and just keep noticing spaces. And then bring those spaces out until all of your body feels like a light, airy bubble.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Do you have a guided relaxation thing we can listen to on your...
No, I don't, but I think I should. I probably should just record one straight after this, and I'll pop it on. Okay, great idea. And I'll post it on a link after this Facebook. There we go.
Awesome. So you said you're always continually exploring and pushing yourself to your edge. Like, is there any particular themes that you're exploring now that's really taking you to your edge? Or every day is an edgy day, should we say?
Wow, it's like you know me inside out. I have been exploring, I think I've been exploring this for years, but especially right now I've been exploring the concept of fear very intimately. Moving over to Melbourne has challenged me in ways that I could not have even imagined. And fear has come up in so many different ways for me. So I guess I'm trying to make this more clear, like what the fear is exactly. There's a lot of fear coming up about change. So what I decided when I came to move over was that I wanted to be the highest expression, the fullest expression of my higher self, which is a pretty big ask. And so what the universe does, how the universe works with that, is you put something out there and then it goes, well, I'm just going to show you all the things you need to face before we can let you have that dream happen, right? And so I put that out, hopped on the plane. I was like, I'm going to be the highest expression of myself. I'm over in Melbourne and I'm going to affect thousands of people, blah, 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 blah. And then when I stepped off the plane, it was like, boom, I got barraged with all these things that I needed to handle in my life before I can step into that new phase of life. Like, great. So the fear of taking action, the fear of being in a new place and connecting with people, the fear of old ego fears of being seen and being judged, and being judged as not worthy, they all came back up. So it was like things that I thought I had handled in New Zealand, and I think it was only, I had handled them in New Zealand and I'd handled them within my community, but I hadn't actually handled them on this grand scale that I had envisioned for myself. So this idea of being judged and going in with all of your authenticity, not hiding anymore, all of that came crashing in.
Wow.
So yeah, fear makes me push to my edges. And one of the best things I learned from a friend of mine, he said this to me a few years ago, he was talking about leaning into your fear. And so when you think about, we talk a lot about, well, you'll hear a lot of people talk about facing your fear or like moving beyond your fear. And to me, that's a really masculine model of how to handle fear. It's like, oh, fuck you, get out of the way, let's do this, you know. And I'm pretty masculine, like, but I also am, I just want it to be a little bit softer and a little bit more nurturing, because sometimes when we go in with that gung-ho feel, well, I'm going to say this from myself, when I go through that with that gung-ho feel, it actually feels really difficult and it doesn't feel very compassionate or loving to myself or to whatever energy I'm putting out there.
Mm-hmm.
It's very like, get out of my way, you know, sort of. And I don't know, that feels not so great anymore. It works, and it used to work for me really well, but I think I'm moving into a different way of being. So now this idea of leaning in is more like a kind of a hug, you know, like, so lean into your fear, and it'll just kind of wrap you up, and then you can kind of wrap it with light and just get comfortable with it. I think that's the idea, you know?
Yeah. So I'm laughing because it just reminded me of when I used to play rugby. That's how I used to think of tackling. That was hugging the legs, and it was much more gentle rather than, I'm going to take this person out. And it was just,
oh my gosh, you would never hear a rugby player like speak the way you just like, I'm going to hug my opponent and take them to the ground. Like, I love you. Like, just put you down on the ground slowly.
It worked. I never got, I didn't injure myself that way. That was and I guess it's saying that feeling is, I guess we can hurt ourselves if we, I guess, take
totally
a more brutal route.
Yes, like why not soften that a little bit more and make it really loving for both you and the fear, whatever that fear is. That fear is usually your ego. So you and your little girl, or you and your ego. So I've been really playing with that, just leaning in and just really trying to get comfy with that fear. It's like, what is the worst that could happen out of this situation? And getting so comfortable with it until I'm just like, it's not even really an issue now. And then the major thing is to take the action.
Well, it's interesting you bring this up, because it's something, I mean, this hasn't stopped you from moving and staying in Australia, because you're still there. And it's, I think for a lot of people, I've heard people talk about, I think gone are the days where it's gone, oh, this thing come up, so it wasn't meant to be, and then they back off. Yep. So they've asked for this thing, the stuff, and I think that's it. People don't realize, okay, now the stuff is the uncomfortableness or the limiting thought patterns that you mentioned, that things will come up, but for an opportunity for releasing or forgiving or whatever the tools that you provide. And I think a lot of people kind of turn away and go, oh, that wasn't meant to be. See, it wasn't going to happen. Can you speak to that?
Oh, I can totally speak to that. I'm pretty brutal. So if you've ever had me as a coach, you know that I'm pretty just like, nah, that's just bullshit, and that's kind of what I want to say about that, is that this is again when you have to check in and challenge yourself. It's like, am I running away because I am scared of something, or it's making me face something that I really need to learn? Or is it really, truly because I'm not meant to do this? And you will know when you're being scared and you're just being a little bit, you're avoiding something. And I think you're right. Like, it's time to step up into a new, more powerful paradigm where it's not like this whole, and this really used to annoy me, this kind of wishy-washy, like going with the flow. Oh, that didn't work out, so I'm just going to go over here. And I think that works for some people because they really are in tune with what is happening. But I think a lot of people use it as a way to escape what they actually have to learn. They're not ready to just really see it for what it is and go there. And I think that's where your edge of learning will happen, is when you start challenging yourself and going, hey, come on, what is this really? And work through that. Because once you work through that, at the end, it might tell you the same thing. It might say, oh no, you're not actually meant to do that. And you go, sweet, well, I know that now. Plus I worked through the stuff, that's fine. Or you might work through it and actually realize there was a block and now everything's free flowing. So yeah, I think we need to take a moment to stop and just reflect back in and decide from that place, that inner self.
Absolutely. Again. And or find a facilitator that can assist you.
Yes. Oh my God, you're so right.
Which is why, I'm so grateful for the connections I have that can give me a bit of a bitch slap, to be honest, to go, you do know. Oh, okay, I do. Okay, hang on. Check with self, have some tools, get your girlfriends around or your boyfriends around just to talk through stuff really helps, and get a different perspective that can also help you get back to your own knowing.
You are so right, because and I think this is what people don't understand about the power of having coaches or guides or whatever it is that they really, they do that. They just go, psh. They're like, come on, stop it. Like,
love, but okay.
Exactly. They'll do it in some way, like energetically or whatever. But, that's what a good coach will do. They won't cuddle you, model coddle you, and not challenge you to grow. They will challenge you to grow. That's what a good coach should do. They'd be like, I want to see you become the highest version of yourself, so I'm going to push you even if you kind of don't like me for it. They take themselves, the ego, out of the equation, the whole being liked thing, and they're just like, I want to see you be amazing, so this is it.
Fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. So if people do want to have a session with you, how can people contact you?
So the easiest way is to hop onto my Facebook page. Probably just check out what I do a little bit more and see if you're up for it. So you can go to fb.me/aroha Nik Chung, and we'll put that in the comments so that you can find it easily. And then you can just PM me from there and see what your options are. And I generally work with people in packages, so at least 3 sessions. I feel like that really can get to the depths of something. 1 session, we could work through some things, but I think 3 is the magic number, and then if you feel like you need more support, we go from there. But if you happen to be in Melbourne and are interested in more of the body coaching, which I do, so the dancing, then I do have classes here in Melbourne as well. And again, just PM me and you can find out details. And I am also running workshops and retreats. And hopefully when I come back to New Zealand, I will, in February next year, I'll be running a few workshops there as well to do with coming into the body, and from that place, accessing our body knowledge and living a life with more passion and purpose and potential.
Nice. I love it. Well, I look forward to those. And I will also post the links on this video. Will be going on YouTube as well as the various usual social media places, so you can connect with Nik that way. I thank you so much, Nik, for joining me. That was a really delightful conversation. And I'm so pleased for you that you got through your fears and you're making the most of the opportunities that you're bringing through. It's so good to see you really blossom, and you're a real inspiration for me. And I hope, I'm sure you are for many other people out there as well.
Oh, thank you so much, Yule, for this opportunity to talk. I always love chatting about consciousness and the journey, and I love highlighting the fact that it's hard for everyone. Well, we all go through our difficulties, and I think that's worth sharing because it's not meant to be. Oh, I don't know if it's an easy road. Maybe I've just chosen a different road. Maybe there is an easier road to choose. I don't know. But it's lovely to share my perspective with you all. And again, thank you for this wonderful conversation and the opportunity just to speak.
Awesome. Okay, guys. Well, I'll see you soon. And thank you, Nik, again. And
all right.
And I'll say goodbye now.
Bye.